So I got advance permission to wax nostalgic for a minute or two, and I'll try not to turn that into an hour or two. But just, it just meant so much to me, and I know it did too, Hallie and Reinhardt too, to be invited back here today. And it just, inspired a spate of reflection on where we all sort of came from. In 2004, I had managed to talk, I'm originally from Michigan, and had come here for school and then later work, and I managed to talk one of my best friends, Sam Perkins Harmon, over there, into moving into a really, really shitty 8th-floor apartment over at Kenmore and Ardmore, and it was beautiful. It just had a sliver of a view of Lake Michigan between the Sheridan Road high-rises, and we were able to enjoy it with a couple hundred cockroaches that we systematically killed, probably shortening our lifespan by a couple years in the process. We were really depressed by the, not by the apartment, we were really depressed by the outcome of the election in 2004, which actually feels very poignant. And decided to celebrate by writing a bunch of ridiculous manifestos and throwing some arts parties with artists and writers and musicians that we knew from Michigan and from the University of Chicago. And there were also some physicists and some mathematicians and some law students. So this was kind of a bizarre mix of people. And, I don't want to get maudlin, but this was probably one of the most enriching periods of my whole life, and one that I refer back to all the time. We called this Gothic Funk. We eventually called it the Gothic Funk Nation. And after several years of these parties and manifestos and grandiose statements that have faded into the ether, we decided that we should do a little bit more with that. And amazingly, nobody was getting paid. Everybody was paying out of pocket. We put several projects together. There was National Address, which was sort of a combination of an open mic night and a workshop series that was presided over by Sean Conley, who now lives in Ottawa, Illinois, and Skylar Moran. And there was a literary magazine called the Paramount Pentaquark, which actually survives today in Flint, Michigan. It will be releasing its 5th issue early next year. And then the third one was Tuesday Funk. And Tuesday Funk, as far as I'm concerned, there are 3 co-founders, and it would never have happened without all 3 of us. And at the time, it was just like, who wants to do this, But it worked out really, really well that those 3 people were Hallie and Reinhardt and me, because we complemented each other perfectly. I was like kind of the loopy energy guy, and I was, talking ear off of anybody who would stop and shut up and listen to me, and probably driving them up the wall doing so. But I like to think that persistence was helpful. Hallie just had an incredible ability to reach out to anybody, and that was good because we had to change location several times before it was here. It was in Ennui in Rogers Park, and then it was in Flourish over on Bryn Mawr. So we always had a place to read, and Reinhardt, probably had the pulse, not just on what was being written in Chicago, but what was exciting and new and driving. And so Reinhardt managed to bring in incredible readers, to a completely unknown reading series, month after month after month. And that, too, was incredibly exciting and gratifying. That started in April 2008, and we ran Tuesday Funk through mid-20... I want to say like the end of 2010, the beginning of 2011. Hallie and I both started families. Reinhardt and I both moved out of state. We passed the baton along to Sarah Ross Witt. Where are you? Over there. And William Shun, right there. And they continued to build, and it seems like their abilities complemented each other, just as the 3 of us did. And then they passed it along to Andrew and Eden. And so, again, transformation is constant, and people change, and cities change, and everything changes. It's too painfully obvious, but holy shit. If somebody would have told me in 2004, you're bummed out that Kerry lost, drink this beer, have this party, and, the fruits of this 12 years in the future is that you're going to have 50, 60, who knows how many people standing in this bar listening to people share their bleeding out on the computer screen. I mean, I don't want to say I wouldn't have believed it, but you know, it's astonishing to see today, and I'm so very grateful to have been invited here, and I'm grateful to all of you for being here, and I'm grateful to everybody who has made this a living series. So, I'm just gonna throw a couple last names out because a lot of people have helped this go throughout the years, and they're probably not mentioned. Amber Staub, Nora Friedman, Colin McFall, Clara Robartis, and the Monks of Cool, and the Moomers down in Hyde Park, Emma Sproul, and Joe Anderson, Ben Golden. These are all people that like made this thing tick and kept the wheels turning. Thanks to everybody, and cheers. All right, well, that's enough about us. Let's talk about me.